Hello everybody, hope you all are doing really well. This is CA Agrawal, your faculty for ACCA AA and AAA subjects. My friends, today we are going to cover two standards from your syllabus which are going to be very important for you. Number one standard is going to be ISA 505, that is external confirmations, and second one is going to be ISA 580, which is written representations. My friends, these two standards are going to be very important for you because one of these standards is part of the core audit procedures that auditor needs to perform, and second one is a core part of the completion process, which is written representations. So that is why these two standards becomes very important for all of you. Okay, so now let us quickly jump on these standards, but today we are going to follow a little different format. Okay, and what is going to be a format? See, whenever we discuss about these two standards, first thing is that we should have a very solid understanding about the basics of these standards. So we are going to cover the basics first, and then we are going to go for the technical text of these two standards. Okay, so let's discuss about it one by one. Okay, my friends, whenever we talk about external confirmation, okay, what is the overall analysis, why external confirmations are performed, why they are required? Let's discuss about each one of them first. Okay, so let's take a scenario. Okay, let's take a scenario. We will take 2-3 examples over here. Once we understand all 3 examples, then we will be moving ahead with the technical text. Okay, example 1. Okay, let's discuss about example 1. Okay, so first example says that A and company wants to, let me write it in a little more slimmer way. Okay, example 1 is A and company wants to obtain external confirmation, for bank. Okay, for bank balances. Now my friends, what would happen is that this particular audit firm would do what? They will select certain banks to whom they will be sending the confirmation. They can also send the confirmations to all the banks, right? Then they will be tracking that which confirmations are received, and for the confirmation that they have not received the confirmation, what they can do the follow-up procedures, right? That could be one. They could perform the alternative procedures, they could do follow-ups, and then ultimately they will be doing the alternative procedure. That is the thing. But my friends, what happens is, why is this confirmation letter required? Why is this confirmation required? So see, like we discussed in basics, there are multiple types of audit evidences that could be there. There could be There could be persuasive, there could be conclusive, there could be contradictory, and there could be corroborative, right? We have already discussed the meanings of it. However, when we talk about the external confirmation, they majorly provide us the corroborative evidences, that is evidence to an existing evidence. That is, we might be able to get certain information from other audit evidences also. For example, in this case, bank reconciliation statement would give you some comfort, some evidences about it. Bank statement that is taken from the bank's website, that would also give you certain confirmation. However, ultimate corroborative evidence is bank confirmation letter. Okay, ultimate corroborative evidence is bank confirmation, because it is written, okay, it is direct, it is originally received, that is original document is sent to you, and that is why this becomes one of the most important evidences, because this is written, direct, original, and independent sources there. That is, the source is not dependent on the organization generally. So that is why this becomes one of the most important, most reliable sources of audit evidences. That is why even if there is a question tomorrow as in whenever there is a paper, okay, whenever there is a question that which is the most reliable source of audit evidences, so we generally end up writing external confirmations. Why do we write external confirmations? Because these are written, okay, these are original, these are direct, these are independent, and that is why it makes them very reliable. Do you remember those conditions where we discussed about what affects the reliability of an audit evidence, and we said that there are 5 parameters, these 4 plus effectiveness of internal controls, right? So this is very important. Okay, so these are the most important, most reliable source of evidences. Now let's talk about second example. Okay, this example makes sense. Now let's talk about second example where external confirmations might be required. My friends, you went to the inventory count. Okay, you went to the inventory count and found that some inventory is lying 2000 kilometer away. Now if you will send your team there, if you will send your team from here till there and then perform the inventory count for a small portion of inventory, you might not be doing the business in the, or you might not be conducting the audit in the cost effective manner, right? So that is why what you can do, you can obtain a direct confirmation. You can obtain what? You can obtain direct confirmation. You can obtain direct confirmation from third party is also allowed. Direct confirmation of third party, direct confirmation from third party is also allowed. That is, that party that is lying over there, okay, they can confirm to you in writing that yes, this is an inventory which is lying with us and it belongs to your client only. So that could also be a very good example for external confirmations. Now let's discuss about one more thing. Have you seen, if you go to any of the departmental store or any of the grocery store near your house, you will see that there are certain machineries, say Cadbury machineries there, which might not belong to the shopkeeper, but it is still kept. Now at the end of the year, if the auditor of that particular company will go to the premises and they will verify that you have said that you have 1000 fridges, I can only see 200. So they might say that 800 fridges are lying with the vendors and we do not have access to it, they only keep it. So what you can do, you can take out certain samples and you can send the confirmation letters, and those shopkeepers could confirm that yes, this machine is lying with us and it is in the working stage, and that is the condition of the particular asset. So there also direct confirmation is required. Now let's talk about the third example. Okay, let's talk about third example. See, what happens is, whenever we talk about third example, what happens is there could be certain legal cases, right? There could be certain legal cases for which status is not known, for which status cannot be determined by auditor. See, for every legal case, auditor might not be having all the information because that is not the scope of auditor. So cannot be determined by auditor. Legal cases for which status cannot be determined by auditor. Okay, because first of all, that is not the area of the auditor, then second is that is not the scope of the auditor as well. So they are not concerned with it. So what they can do? Obtain solicitor confirmation. This could also be called as obtain solicitor confirmation. This could also be called as legal confirmation. So obtain solicitor confirmation. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now I hope you have understood that where confirmation letters are required. We have taken 3 examples, one of bank statement, second one is of inventory, and third one is of legal cases. Okay, now what is the process? Let's discuss about that. What is the process? So see, I'll tell you the detailed process that is followed. Okay, I'll tell you the detailed process that is followed. See, population is decided. After deciding the population, what we do? We select the samples, then we get the authorization letters, printed authorization letters from management. Management needs to authorize the other person that yes, these are our auditors and please submit the information to them. After the authorization letter is there, then we draft the confirmation letter. Confirmation letter is drafted by auditor. Confirmation letter drafted by auditor, right? Then it is sent to party, or let me say the vendor or party. Okay, then after we send it to them, we follow up and see if the confirmation is received. If not, alternative procedure for not received. Alternate procedures for not received. Okay. Follow up and evaluation when received. Evaluation when received, as in when received, what we do, we evaluate the information, that is whether it is matching or not. So this is the overall process. The population, we select the population, we go for the sample selection, we go for the authorization letter from management, we can go for the confirmation letters. Now this could be swapped also, that is confirmation letter could be drafted first and then authorization letter could be obtained, that is the call of the auditor. Okay, then sent to vendor or party, then follow up evaluation is done, and then alternative procedures for not for the confirmation that are not received. I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. Now we have understood a lot of things about this particular standard, which is ISA 505. Now let's do what? Now let's go for the technical standard and read everything, okay, and see if there are any new information. If yes, we will be understanding it then and there. Okay, so ISA 505, let's talk about it. Audit evidence, let's talk about it. Audit evidence. Okay, so audit evidence obtained as a direct written response. Obtained as a direct, we discussed, no, that it is, that is why I saved it first. Okay, otherwise if we would have lost these three things, then it would have been a big chaos, right? So audit evidence obtained as a direct, that is it is direct, okay. Written, it is written, we have already discussed about it, to the auditor from a third party, that is external and independent, that is independent. Okay, so audit evidence obtained as a direct written response to the auditor from a third party, that is the confirming party. Now the factors to be considered when determining the need, that is when do you need to consider that for which areas the external confirmations are required. For example, if we talk about say bank balances, now this is critical even if there is a small amount in the bank, right? However, if we talk about the legal cases, if the legal cases are such which are quantitative in nature and the quantity is very less, that it is not material, then you might decide that we will not be sending the confirmation letters for it. So materiality, assessed level of IR and CR, that is if higher risk then more confirmation, otherwise no, that is if higher risk more confirmation letters, more confirmation samples. Materiality, for material items more confirmation, I hope this is clear. Now conclusion from other audit evidences, that is if you have not got sufficient and appropriate audit evidences from other audit evidences, then you might say that you require the confirmation, external confirmations, otherwise you might not. So example, if you obtained S&A, if you obtained S&A audit evidences from other sources, then may not be required, and vice versa. That is, if you have not obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidences from other procedures, then you might be requiring it. Okay, now let's discuss about it. If IR and CR is assessed as low, substantive procedure may be limited to TOD rather through confirmation. That is, what happens is if risk is low, that is if risk of material misstatement. How can I say risk of material misstatement? Because risk of material misstatement is the product of IR and CR. So if risk of material misstatement is low, then auditor could perform TOD. TOD is majorly inspection rather than confirmation. That is the meaning of it. That is, auditor could rely more on vouching, verification, inspection of documents rather than the confirmations, and that is appropriate. This is also very important area for you to remember, because there might be certain case studies that this information might be given, that what has happened is that auditor has done what? Auditor has assessed the IR and CR as low. Okay, I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. Okay, now let's move forward. Okay, now let's discuss about factors to be considered. Factors to be considered. Factors to be considered. Now in this page there are going to be a little more information also. Open or close request. Open or close request. What do we mean by it? Open or close request? So see, open where the confirming party, where the confirming party is given an opportunity, where the confirming party is given an opportunity to write the details themselves. That is, the blank workspace is provided to them. For example, please confirm us the amount of bank balance showing at the end of 31st March 2025 in this particular account number. Whereas second one is closed. That is just confirm what is already written. Just confirm what is already written in the letter. That is what auditor would do. Auditor would pre-print. Auditor would pre-print the balances, will send it to the particular confirming party and will just ask for the confirmation. That is it. Now competence, independence and other characteristics of the respondent. For example, let's talk about this one thing. That is, we have one factory. Let's take this example over here. Okay, let's take this example over here. Factory A and B are there. Factory B is managed by less competent parties. So third party confirmation obtained. Third party confirmation obtained from factory B would be less reliable. I hope this is clear. Would be less reliable. I hope this is clear. Yes. Now, type of information respondents will readily confirm. That is, sometimes what happens is, we know from our experience that in case of say debtors, the information would be confirmed for total balances rather than one invoice. Total balances is readily available. But when we talk about the status of legal cases, so individual cases are more easy to confirm. Okay, so example, for debtors, total balances are generally readily available, but for legal cases status of individual cases is generally more readily available. I hope this is clear. Now, so example, single transaction or rather than overall account balance. For example, what happens in case of debtors. I hope this is clear. Now, management's authorization to respondent to disclose information requested. That is, management authorization is required. Therefore, management authorization letter is sent along with confirmation so that respondent could respond without fear of breach of confidentiality. I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. So these are factors to be considered. Is it important? Yes. These two standards are approximately fully important. Okay. So you can understand that these two are generally fully important. Okay. Now let's talk about methods, positive as well as negative. Let's talk about methods, positive as well as negative. So let's talk about the methods. When we talk about the methods, what is important to understand here is that there are generally two methods. One is positive and another one is negative. What is the overall meaning of it? Let's discuss it. Okay. Positive as in you have to confirm whether you agree or not. So requesting response whether agreement or disagreement. That is respond in both cases. Whereas when we talk about the negative confirmation, so it is requesting response only in the event of disagreement. That is only, or let's write this way, that is respond only if disagreed. Okay, so this is very, very important. Now preferred when high risk of material misstatement is there, that is whether preferred when high inherent risk or control risk is there, whereas this is opposite, preferred when low risk is there. Definitely, because if there is higher risk, so you will expect that the party should confirm even if they agree, even if they don't agree, because there is a slight chance that you might miss out and they might miss out on responding even if they disagree. So you might not leave any chance in case of high risk of material misstatement, whereas you can have some room for errors, some rooms of mistake if there are less risk of material misstatement. Now, if management requests not to confirm certain information, management request to whom? Management request to whom? This is very important to understand here. Management request to auditor. Okay. If management requests to auditor, not in that management authorization letter, management cannot write in that authorization letter that you do not need to respond. That could not be done. But management could definitely come to auditor and say that we request you not to confirm this particular information, say for inventory, say for fixed assets and all. Alternative procedure must be applied if agreed. That is, if auditor agrees. If agreed as in if auditor agrees. If agreed as in if auditor agrees. If auditor agrees, then auditor could perform alternative procedures. What if auditor does not agree? If not agreed, the auditor should evaluate implication on management's integrity. That is, whether there is any chance which could highlight or which could let us know that management is not having integrity and management is not reliable. Now let's talk about the confirmation process that we have already discussed. Let's have a quick reading of it. Okay. So the auditor should have control over. Auditor should have control over what? The selection process. Auditor should have control over what? The selection process. Auditor should have control over what? The selection process. Then sending confirmation request. The selection process, this sending the confirmation request and receiving responses. When I say selection, this is sampling. When I say sending confirmation request, this is drafting and sending confirmation letters. Drafting and sending confirmation letters. Then receiving responses, that is responses and evaluation, reminders, follow-ups, etc. I hope this is clear. Now, to minimize risk of sample bias in interception of request and alteration of responses, that is, to minimize risk of sample bias, that is wrong samples, risk of sample bias, that is judgmental samples, sample bias as in judgmental samples, sample bias as in judgmental samples, interception of request as in interpretation and communication, and alteration of responses, which means alteration of responses means that whether tracking of all the responses is done appropriately or not. Now the process, let's discuss about the process. So process is what? Constructing a sample, that is deciding a sample. Letter requesting confirmation, that is we will be sending the confirmation request. On receiving responses, agree or reconcile differences, that is if there are differences you can reconcile. And for non-replies, perform alternative procedure. With this we have completed this particular standard, and this has been very important and very understanding for all of us, and this standard is very important for our examination also. So please try to remember this standard as far as possible, because almost all of the things that we have understood over here is very important. I hope you have understood it. Now we will meet in the next lecture, where we will be discussing about the initial audit engagements as well, and we will be discussing about all the other relevant topics. Okay, thank you so much.